Greetings! How was your Christmas celebration? I would be delighted to hear about your joyful moments. Join me as I share a tale of a Christmas that took a dark turn in California since 2008. It's about a story so profoundly disturbing that its chilling resonance will linger long after the festive cheer of the holidays has faded. It unfolds not in a dark alley or a desolate urban landscape, but within the seemingly safe confines of a quiet suburban neighborhood, a place where families gather for joyous celebrations, where the spirit of Christmas is meant to reign supreme. It's a story that underscores the fragility of peace and the insidious nature of violence, a stark reminder that even in the most idyllic settings, the shadow of horror can unexpectedly fall. The evening of December 24, 2008, descended upon Covina, California, a residential area nestled within Los Angeles County, cloaked in the quiet anticipation of Christmas. The stillness was shattered shortly before midnight. At approximately 11:30 p.m., a figure, dressed in the festive garb of Santa Claus, approached a two-story home, the facade momentarily illuminated by the porch light. People are enjoying their moments with family. The image, initially heartwarming, quickly transformed into one of unspeakable horror. An 8-year-old girl, her innocent heart brimming with the magic of Christmas Eve, eagerly opened the door, expecting a visit from the legendary gift giver. Instead, she was met with the cold, hard muzzle of a firearm wielded by the man in the Santa suit. The joyous anticipation instantly curdled into terror as the man fired, the young girl collapsing to the ground. Began to tragedy Christmas Eve, no one want to remember. This horrifying scene was the brutal culmination of a meticulously planned act of violence perpetrated by Jeffrey Pardo, a 45-year-old man consumed by rage and driven by a desire for revenge. Disguised in his deceptive Santa Claus costume, Pardo had arrived at the home of his 80-year-old ex-father-in-law, Joseph S. Ortega, and his 70-year-old ex-mother-in-law, Alicia Sotomayor Ortega. His sinister intent was evident in his preparation. The Santa suit itself, a large gift box concealing his weapons, and the 4 firearms he carried. Inside the home, a small gathering of family and friends were celebrating the holiday season. Their laughter and cheerful chatter a stark contrast to the impending doom. Pardo, a shadow of Christmas cheer, stealthily entered the house and unleashed a torrent of gunfire. The ensuing chaos was a scene of unimaginable terror. Pardo methodically moved from room to room, his weapon spitting death, leaving a trail of carnage in his wake. The festive atmosphere was replaced by screams of terror and the deafening sound of gunfire. 9 lives were brutally extinguished that night, including his ex-wife, Sylvia Ortega Pardo, her parents, and several other cherished family members. 2 teenagers were wounded in the hail of bullets, while others sustained serious injuries, their lives forever scarred by the encounter. The violence didn't end with the gunfire. In a final, devastating act, Pardo ignited a fire, using a highly flammable racing fuel to accelerate the blaze, engulfing the home in flames and ensuring the deaths of the 9 victims, including his ex-wife and her family. The once peaceful home was reduced to ashes, a chilling monument to a night of unimaginable horror. Having completed his horrific rampage, Pardo methodically shed his Santa Claus disguise, the festive red and white, now stained with the blood of his victims. The transformation from jovial holiday figure to cold-blooded killer complete, he swiftly moved to his escape. He climbed into his vehicle, the engine already running, and fled the scene of the massacre, leaving behind a house consumed by flames and a landscape littered with the shattered remnants of lives. His destination was his brother's residence in Sylmar, approximately 30 kilometers away, a distance that likely seemed insignificant compared to the enormity of his actions. The journey, normally a mundane commute, must have felt like a desperate flight from the weight of his crimes. Upon reaching his brother's house, Pardo entered, the silence of the empty dwelling a stark contrast to the chaos he had left behind. The house, however, would not offer him sanctuary. Later, Pardo was discovered lifeless, the victim of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, a final desperate act that brought an end to his reign of terror. His brother, unaware of the impending tragedy, was absent from the home at the time of Pardo's suicide, leaving the scene of his final moments undisturbed. Initially, investigators believed Pardo's plan was to escape to Canada, a theory fueled by the discovery of an Air Canada ticket in his possession. This seemingly clear escape route, however, proved to be a more complex puzzle. Further investigation revealed that the ticket was not for a direct flight to Canada, but rather for a Northwest Airlines flight from Los Angeles to Moline, Illinois, with a scheduled stop in Minnesota. The discrepancy sparked further questions regarding Pardo's intentions, casting doubt on the initial assumption of a Canadian escape. Adding another layer of mystery to the case, investigators uncovered a phone call Pardo had made days before the massacre to a high school friend, informing him of a planned visit. While the call initially seemed innocuous, its significance remained ambiguous. Was this a genuine attempt to reconnect with an old friend, or a carefully constructed ruse designed to mislead investigators and potentially establish an alibi? The fact that Pardo had visited this same friend in October 2008 further complicated the interpretation of the call, leaving investigators to grapple with the possibility of a carefully orchestrated deception amidst the already complex web of the crime. The true nature of Pardo's intentions, both in terms of his flight plans and his contact with his friend, remained shrouded in uncertainty, adding another layer of chilling complexity to the already horrific events of that Christmas Eve. Following the massacre, Bruce Pardo's escape was short-lived. He parked his vehicle a calculated distance from the scene, ensuring a degree of separation between himself and the inferno he had created. The discovery of his car, however, was far from accidental. A charred and partially destroyed Santa Claus suit, its festive appearance grotesquely juxtaposed with the grim reality of its contents, seem as a macabre trail leading investigators to the vehicle. The suit, seemingly innocuous at first glance, concealed a deadly secret, a clue that pointed towards the meticulous planning and chilling premeditation behind the massacre. Inside the car, amidst the remnants of the Santa Claus costume, a horrifying arsenal was discovered. Over 300 bullets, a testament to the sheer volume of firepower unleashed that night, lay scattered amongst the scorched fabric. Adding another layer of chilling complexity to the scene, a device resembling a pipe bomb was also found. The discovery immediately prompted the deployment of a bomb squad, specialists trained to handle such volatile materials. The subsequent detonation of the device, while carefully controlled by the experts, underscored the potential for even greater devastation had the device functioned as intended. Fortunately, the controlled detonation caused no further damage or injury. Before taking his own life, Pardo had meticulously constructed a deadly booby trap, a final act of calculated cruelty, even in death. The Santa Claus suit itself was ingeniously wired to the pipe bomb-like device, transforming the festive attire into a lethal instrument. The design was cunningly simple, yet devastatingly effective. Removing the suit would trigger a firing pin, igniting black powder and causing the 300 bullets to detonate in a deadly, indiscriminate blast. This intricate mechanism further highlighted the premeditated nature of the attack, dispelling any notion of a spontaneous act of violence. Further investigation into Pardo's home yielded additional evidence supporting the theory of premeditation and meticulous planning. A handgun and 4 shotguns were seized, adding to the already substantial arsenal. The careful selection and preparation of these weapons, along with the intricate design of the booby trap, painted a picture of a man driven by a cold, calculated desire for revenge. The details surrounding Pardo's visit to his ex-wife's sister's house further emphasized this meticulous planning. He carried 4 handguns concealed within his Santa Claus suit, hidden inside a seemingly innocuous gift box. This box, itself carefully wrapped, contained a metal canister adorned with a festive bow. The canister held an accelerant, identified as possibly a high-octane racing fuel, potentially enhanced with the addition of carbon dioxide or oxygen to increase its flammability. Survivors of the attack corroborated this detail, reporting seeing the perpetrator dousing the house with accelerant before the fire erupted. Despite his careful preparations, Pardo's deadly scheme backfired, at least in part. He suffered severe third-degree burns to both arms. The Santa Claus suit fused to his skin in a gruesome testament to the intensity of the fire he had unleashed. Sheriff Kim Rainey's succinct statement, "It's an unspeakable tragedy," served as a stark and inadequate summary of the event. The sheer scale of the violence, described at the time as the largest mass shooting in the United States and the most horrific attack in California, underscored the devastating impact of Pardo's actions, leaving an enduring scar on the community and the nation. The meticulous planning, the sophisticated booby trap, and the sheer volume of firepower employed all pointed to a premeditated act of unspeakable violence, leaving behind a legacy of grief and horror. The immediate aftermath of the Covina Massacre revealed a complex and chilling narrative, one that extended beyond the horrific events of that Christmas Eve. While the initial plan seemingly involved the systematic extermination of his ex-wife's family, followed by an escape from the country, evidence suggests that Pardo's intentions underwent a significant shift following the attack. The unexpected severity of his injuries, the third-degree burns that fused the Santa Claus suit to his skin, may have played a significant role in this change. The meticulously planned escape, involving pre-purchased airline tickets and a carefully constructed alibi, was seemingly abandoned in favor of a far more immediate and desperate solution: suicide. This abrupt alteration of plans, from a calculated escape to a self-inflicted death, hints at a level of unforeseen complication that even Pardo's meticulous planning could not account for. The physical toll of the attack, the unexpected pain and disfigurement, may have shattered his resolve, forcing a hasty re-evaluation of his meticulously crafted escape route. Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, the perpetrator of this unspeakable act of violence, presented a stark contrast to the image of a cold-blooded killer. He was, by all accounts, an unremarkable individual, an aerospace worker with a seemingly unblemished past. His professional history included a 9-year stint at NASA Laboratory, a position he left in 1994, suggesting a level of competence and technical skill. However, his employment history also revealed a more recent setback: the loss of his job at a radar manufacturing company just months before the massacre, in October 2008. This job loss, coupled with the disintegration of his marriage, may have contributed to the escalating tensions and simmering resentment that ultimately culminated in the horrific events of Christmas Eve. Pardo's personal life, as described by those who knew him, painted a picture of quiet normalcy. He and his 43-year-old ex-wife, Sylvia, had married in 2004 and lived in Montrose, a Los Angeles suburb. Neighbors described them as a private couple, reserved and keeping largely to themselves. Pardo himself was characterized as a quiet, unassuming individual, often seen walking his dog or tending his garden. He was reportedly religious, a regular attendee of his local church, further contributing to the image of a seemingly ordinary, unassuming man. The news of the massacre sent shockwaves through his community, shattering the perception of a quiet, unassuming neighbor. Those who knew him described him as amiable, easygoing, and always smiling, a stark contrast to the image of the ruthless killer responsible for the massacre. A church leader echoed this sentiment, expressing disbelief and shock at the revelation of Pardo's actions. The casual encounter between Pardo and a neighbor, Bon Garcia, around 9:10 p.m. on the night of the massacre, further highlights the deceptive nature of his face. Pardo's seemingly innocuous statement about attending a Christmas party served as a perfect cover, concealing the horrific plan unfolding in his mind. No one suspected the bloody massacre he was about to commit, a testament to his ability to maintain a deceptive veneer of normalcy while harboring such unspeakable intentions. The motive behind Bruce Pardo's horrific act of violence remains a complex and chilling tapestry woven from the threads of personal loss, financial disputes, and simmering resentment. While the surface details might appear straightforward, a bitter divorce settlement, the underlying motivations were far more nuanced and deeply rooted in Pardo's psyche. The divorce proceedings between Pardo and his ex-wife, Sylvia, initiated in March 2008, concluded just days before the massacre, on December 18th, bringing an end to their 4-year marriage. The absence of children from their union adds another layer to the complexity of the situation, highlighting the fact that the conflict transcended the typical issues associated with child custody and support. Pardo's relationship with his son from a previous marriage further complicates the picture. While he did not provide financial support for the child, he had claimed him as a dependent on his tax returns, a fact that Sylvia discovered and cited as one of the irreconcilable differences leading to the divorce. This act, seemingly minor in isolation, reveals a deeper level of deception and manipulation, hinting at a pattern of behavior that may have contributed to the escalating tensions within the relationship. Authorities believe that the final divorce settlement served as the primary catalyst for Pardo's violent outburst. The financial aspects of the settlement, particularly a debt of $10,000 owed by Pardo just a week before the massacre, undoubtedly fueled his resentment. This financial burden, coupled with the loss of a beloved pet, a significant emotional blow, and his unwillingness to return his wedding ring, further exacerbated his already simmering anger and sense of injustice. The court's ruling, perceived by Pardo as unfair or unfavorable, acted as the final trigger, pushing him over the edge and transforming the once mild-mannered individual into a cold-blooded killer. The seemingly insignificant details, the financial debt, the loss of a pet, the refusal to return the ring, paint a picture of a man increasingly consumed by bitterness and a sense of being wrong. The sheer brutality of the massacre itself underscores the depth of Pardo's rage. The manner of death for the victims reveals a chilling pattern. At least 3 victims perished solely from gunshot wounds, the direct result of Pardo's cold-blooded assault. 4 others died from a combination of gunshot wounds and the subsequent fire, highlighting the calculated nature of his attack and his intent to leave no survivors. 2 additional victims succumbed solely to the fire, a testament to the devastating consequences of Pardo's actions. The extent of the destruction is further emphasized by the fact that some bodies were so severely burned that identification could only be achieved through meticulous dental record comparisons. The human cost extends far beyond the immediate victims. At least 13 children were orphaned as a direct result of the massacre. their lives irrevocably altered by the actions of a man consumed by rage and resentment. The additional loss of at least one parent underscores the devastating ripple effect of Pardo's violence, leaving a trail of broken lives and shattered families in its wake. The narrative surrounding Bruce Pardo's Christmas Eve massacre, as pieced together by Los Angeles Daily News journalist J. Stewart, extends beyond the simple framework of a divorce-fueled rage. Stewart's reporting paints a more nuanced picture, highlighting the confluence of significant losses that contributed to Pardo's descent into violence. It wasn't merely the divorce settlement itself that triggered the massacre, but rather the cumulative weight of multiple setbacks that overwhelmed Pardo, pushing him to the brink of unimaginable cruelty. The loss of his wife, Sylvia, through divorce, represented a profound personal loss, shattering the foundation of his life and leaving him feeling adrift and alone. This emotional devastation was compounded by the recent loss of his job, a blow that not only impacted his financial stability, but also likely eroded his sense of self-worth and purpose. The financial burden of a significant debt, estimated at $10,000 just a week before the massacre, only served to exacerbate his feelings of desperation and hopelessness. Adding to this already precarious emotional state was the loss of his beloved dog, Saki, a companion who provided comfort and solace. The frequent walks in the park with Saki, as described by Stewart, suggest a deep bond between man and animal, a bond that was severed, adding to the accumulation of losses that were chipping away at Pardo's emotional stability. The court's order to return both the diamond ring and Saki to his ex-wife, viewed through the lens of Pardo's already fragile emotional state, acted as the final straw, the breaking point that tipped him over the edge into a state of uncontrollable rage. This seemingly minor detail, the court's order, takes on a profound significance when considered within the context of his cumulative losses, serving as the immediate trigger for his violent outburst. Stewart's conclusion that Pardo's actions represented the ultimate crime of a killer disguised as Santa Claus aptly captures the chilling irony and grotesque juxtaposition of festive cheer and brutal violence. The horrific Christmas Eve massacre in Los Angeles stands as a stark reminder of the unpredictability of violent outbursts, particularly when individuals feel they have lost everything: their loved ones, their financial security, their sense of purpose, and even their beloved pets. The meticulously planned nature of the attack, the booby-trapped Santa Claus suit, and the arsenal of weapons employed all point to a deliberate and premeditated act of violence, a chilling testament to the depths of Pardo's despair and rage. The tragic aspect of the situation is further underscored by the perpetrator's suicide, leaving a sense of unfulfilled justice and unanswered questions. While the legal system might have offered a form of closure through prosecution and sentencing, Pardo's self-inflicted death leaves a void, a lack of accountability that adds to the suffering of the victims' families and the community. The pain and suffering inflicted by Pardo's actions will forever haunt those who witnessed the tragedy, those who survived the massacre, and the families of the victims, a constant reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked rage and the profound impact of seemingly insurmountable losses. The story transcends a simple account of a crime. It becomes a poignant exploration of the human capacity for both profound love and unimaginable cruelty. A stark reminder of the fragility of the human psyche and the devastating consequences of unchecked despair.